It is officially my favorite time of year. NFL draft season. And not only are we getting a brand new crop of talent, we're finally so close. We're finally going to get to see where these players that we've been endlessly debating for weeks, months, we're finally going to get to see where they're going to end up. I'm so excited for that. I am so pumped for that. And while I've been constantly updating my prospect rankings at yardsperfantasy.com, you can find it right on the website. You can find it on our app. I've been updating my rankings for weeks, for months. But this is my time. This is the time to finally put some context and analysis to each player in my top 50. So I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, drop some comments. Drop some comments. Who do you if you like any of my rankings, you hate the rankings, tell me why. Tell me your favorite players, your favorite sleepers. I want to hear it. We'll interact with the chat as much as I can. So I'm thinking we just skip all the bullshit and just get right to it. So I'm going to count down. I'm not going to start at 1 and go to 50. I'm going to start at 50 and work my way up to number 1. You should already know who number 1 is. But if you don't, stay tuned. Let's go. Starting at number 50, this is a guy who I liked early on in the process. It's Kyren Williams. And I can't believe, if you asked me back in February where I was going to rank Kyren Williams in my final top 50 before the draft, there's no way I would have said 50. He barely makes the cut. But here we are. Kyren Williams, the running back from Notre Dame, comes in at number 50. Like I said, this guy was on my radar as a potential first rounder in rookie drafts. But a shockingly poor performance at the NFL Combine revealed his true self, really. But still, he still makes the top 50 because, he was an excellent receiver at Notre Dame. He had combined for 77 receptions over the 2020 and 2021 seasons. He worked both out of the backfield and from the slot. He's proved to be a capable pass catcher, and he's proved to be a capable runner as well. He ran for over 2,000 yards over the last 2 seasons. He may be on the smaller side, but he has the willingness and he has the skill to run between the tackles. He's excellent in pass protection, which will help him get on the field. My fear is that poor performance at the NFL Combine, this guy is a slug, and he's undersized. So his draft capital, before the Combine, we thought maybe 2nd, 3rd round pick. This guy could be the next Austin Eckler. And then he runs like a fucking 4.7, and he doubles it up again at his pro day. He sucks again at his pro day. This guy just shot right down, both in my rankings and on the NFL draft boards. He's not going to get the draft capital that we were hoping that he would get. And he's just, like I said, he barely makes my top 50 at this point. And it's sad because I liked him early on. But let's go ahead to number 49. It's a tight end. I don't rank the tight ends very highly because they take so long to break out in most cases. And the tight end class this year is not that great. It's not terrible, but it's not that great. There's a few in the top 50. But this one at 49 is Grant Calcaterra, the tight end from SMU. This guy was a 4-star recruit. He ranked as the number 6 tight end in the 2017 class. He has an interesting story. He started his college career at Oklahoma. He was honorable mention All Big 12 as a true freshman, and he was first team All Big 12 as a sophomore. So he played very well from a very young age at Oklahoma at a big school. However, he actually decided to retire. He retired after the 2019 season due to some concussion issues. But he had a change of heart. He had a change of heart in 2020 while he was training to become a firefighter. And he joined SMU and was back on the field for 2021. He started every game. He hauled in 38 passes, 465 yards, and 4 touchdowns on his way to second-team all-conference honors. Calcaterra, he's an athletic tight end who will specialize as a pass catcher while also spending some time in the slot. There are certainly, definitely concerns here about his concussion history. So we have to factor that in. We know the NFL is going to factor that in. It's going to be baked into his draft capital. But that aside, he has a chance to become a modestly productive receiving threat in the NFL. So I got Calcaterra at 49. Let's move it along to 48. I don't want this to be too long of a show, and we've got 50 guys to get to. So another tight end comes in at 48, and it's Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina. We actually have a prospect model for all 4 of the fantasy relevant positions at yardsperfantasy.com. Isaiah Likely actually pumps out as our top tight end in that model, which surprised me. But I kind of like it. It's kind of exciting. But he is not the number 1 ranked tight end. We obviously factor in the prospect model, but it's not the end-all, be-all. So Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina, he comes in at 48. He was a 2-star prospect from Everett High School in Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, so he grew up near me. He went to Coastal Carolina, like I said. He wanted to play tight end. A lot of schools wanted him as a wide receiver. But clearly it was a great decision because he played well. He was sparingly on the field as a freshman, but he managed to tie for the team lead in receiving touchdowns, even while playing a limited role as a true freshman. And then he started half the games as a sophomore, finishing with 32 receptions, 431 yards, another 5 touchdowns. And he was 3rd team all-conference. In 2020, he had 601 yards, another 5 scores, and then he had his best season in 2021, 59 receptions, 912 yards. He led all FBS tight ends with 12 receiving touchdowns. This is a guy who's a little undersized. He's got below average speed. However, he has some explosion and a ton of production to hang his hat on. It may take a few years like a lot of these tight ends do, especially coming from a small school like Coastal Carolina, but Likely has a chance. I wouldn't say it's likely, but he has a chance to emerge as a starting move tight end who can produce tight end 2 numbers in fantasy football. So that's Isaiah Likely. He's at 48. Moving along here to number 47. And now we're going to go to wide receiver. One of the hidden gems in the 2022 draft class. I just made a TikTok on him. Haven't dropped it yet, but keep an eye out for that. One of my hidden gems is Khalil Shakir from Boise State. He's a wide receiver. He went to Boise State, so he doesn't get much attention, but he dominated the Broncos' passing attack over the last 2 seasons. And he has a knack for making spectacular catches while also presenting a real threat in the open field. This guy is a monster after the catch. He can make spectacular catches, and then once he's made the catch, good luck tackling him. He showed off his versatility by lining up outside in the slot. He took over 70 carries. This is a wide receiver. 70 rush attempts throughout his career. And he also provides value as a returner. That's going to help him get on the field. Early on in his career, he's going to get on the field because of his versatility, whether it's on special teams, playing a little bit of wide receiver, taking jet sweeps. He's going to be a do-it-all guy. Coaches love that. That's going to get him on the field. He is a senior coming out, so he's got a little bit more experience. Eventually, he's going to become a versatile wide receiver 3. I think he's going to become a starter in the NFL. He's likely going to play mostly in the slot because he's a little bit of a slender guy. He's got a slender frame, limited catch radius, so he'll be best lined up in the slot. Hopefully he will land in a spot with a creative play caller who can take full advantage of that wide range of abilities that he has. Coming in at 46, Max Borghi. He's a running back from Washington State. Borghi was a mega producer as a pass catcher during his freshman and sophomore seasons, where they combined 139 receptions. However, he caught just 17 over his last 13 games. As a runner, he's really nothing to be excited about, to be honest with you. So we're drafting him for his pass catching upside, and that's Max Borghi, coming in at 46 from Washington State. And at 45, we got Jerrion Ealy. I really like this guy from Ole Miss. He's an undersized back who has above average burst, but isn't quite as fast as you'd want for a guy of his size, for a smaller guy. Still, he has good pass catching ability. He's got a great skill set there. He's very versatile to take some carries as well. And his experience as a returner will help him get his name called on draft weekend. Probably going to be a day 3 guy. But it's also going to help him get on the field early in his career. Yes, this is rookies only. Talking on the chat here. This is rookies only. We're counting down the top 50 rookies for the 2022 draft class for Dynasty Fantasy Football. Right now we're talking 45, Jerrion Ealy. Like I said, he's going to get his name called on draft day. Going to be a day 3 pick, and he's going to get on the field early in his career because he can probably contribute on special teams as well as in the passing game. And for that reason, he needs to be on the late round radar in Dynasty Rookie Drafts. Moving along to number 44, we've got Hassan Haskins, the running back out of Michigan. This guy, you want to talk about underrated and underappreciated? Hassan Haskins right here. He's a traditional north-south runner who'll be best in an inside zone or power gap scheme at the next level. He won't beat anyone with speed and isn't exactly explosive, but he'll follow his blocks and get tough physical yards. This is a big, tough physical back. He's limited as a receiver, but he showed capable hands when given the opportunity. And still, he will need to develop that area of his game if he's ever going to become a fantasy asset worth pursuing. Haskins will likely find draft capital on day 3, and in Dynasty, he'll likely be a late round rookie pick with the hopes he returns value as like that next man up. Moving forward to number 43, we got Kiante Ingram, another one of my favorite sleeper running backs. This guy's out of USC. He broke out as a sophomore at Texas. He started his college career at Texas before losing the starting job to Bijan Robinson. Really excited for him to come out. Be drafting him at 101 pretty soon, I think. But can't blame Kiante Ingram for wanting to transfer after getting stuck behind Robinson. So he transferred to USC, where he ran for 911 yards and caught 22 passes in 2021. This guy's 6 feet, 221 pounds. He tested with a 79th percentile speed score, and he's got above average burst as well. And he's on a long list of running backs who deserve dart throws in the later rounds of rookie drafts. At 42 is Clemson wide receiver Justin Ross. There was a time, not that long ago, a couple years ago, there was a time when Justin Ross was considered one of the top wide receivers in his class and a lock to be a first-round pick. An unfortunate injury derailed those hopes pretty significantly, obviously, seeing him ranked at 42, and there are other services who have him ranked even lower. So it's, unfortunate. Had some back and neck issues. Luckily, he was able to work his way back, but because that almost cost him his career. But anyway, he was able to work his way back onto the field, but obviously questions still linger about his long-term health and his post-surgery performance. His performance went down significantly after the injury, after he returned to the field. But he does project as a big slot at the next level. His size and ball skills will allow him to make occasional plays out wide as well, but his lack of deep speed and separation will likely keep him inside more often than not. So that's Justin Ross at 42. At 41, we got another sleeper running back Isaiah Pacheco is another one of my favorites. Isaiah Pacheco, the running back from Rutgers. He has a unique running style. Have you guys watched this guy? All you got to do is just go to YouTube. You don't even have to watch the tape. Just go to YouTube. Just see his highlights. This is a guy that, if he makes it in the NFL, you're going to see him on the field and you're like, all you have to do is see him take the ball and you're like, that's Isaiah Pacheco. You don't have to know anything else about him, what team he's on, anything. His unique running style is going to give it away. His legs just chopping at all moments. He's always moving his legs, moving his feet, a mile a minute. He's got a high sense of urgency to get to the next level. He likely won't offer much production in the passing game, but he's competent as a checkdown option. His speed will allow him to be more than a between the tackles grinder as well, and makes him an intriguing late round pick in Dynasty Rookie Drafts. He was stuck in that terrible Rutgers offense, terrible O-line, terrible quarterback play, and yet he was still productive. So this is a guy who's definitely worth a dart throw late in these rookie drafts. Another guy, another running back. We got a lot of this class has a lot of running backs who are just worth drafting late in rookie drafts. And at number 40, it's Tyrion Davis-Price, running back from LSU. He has all the makings. All the makings of an out-of-nowhere fantasy starter. He's a workhorse back with size, speed, and explosion. He won't offer much on passing downs, which is why he's ranked so low, but he can handle a heavy workload and make defenders miss in ways most guys of his size can't. So I'm definitely going to end up with a lot of Tyrion Davis-Price as long as he gets some draft capital on day 3. I just made a TikTok. Again, I haven't posted it yet, but of guys who, I think could be this year's Elijah Mitchell, this year's James Robinson. So I gave 3 guys. I think there's more than 3 that can be that guy. Tyrion Davis-Price was on that list. He made that video, so I think he's got a chance to be pretty significant in the NFL, potentially. At 39, it's Alec Pierce, wide receiver, Cincinnati. This guy has been kind of trending down in my rankings a little bit. There are people who really, really like Alec Pierce, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I got some concerns. He does have an excellent combination of size, speed, and explosion to win in the deep and intermediate quadrants of the field. He's a contested catch savant who will dominate in the red zone, and he's going to make smaller defenders look silly. He will need to refine his route running, but it is something that he noticeably improved on in 2021. He's going to be an immediate contributor for whoever drafts him, thanks to his skills on special teams, blocking in the run game, big playability, and with some work, he can develop into a starting wide receiver who's going to be best lined up out at Z. My concerns are mainly, late breakout, the market share in the offense wasn't as high as you'd like. So there's some question marks there. But as an athletic specimen, Alec Pierce is exciting, and he's worth another one of these late round dart throws. I don't like to draft wide receivers in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds of rookie drafts. I prefer running backs. But if I am going to draft a wide receiver, Alec Pierce is on that very, very small list of guys who I'd be willing to draft at that point in rookie drafts. At 38 is another running back. It's Devontae Price, running back from Florida International. He's an upright runner with exceptional size, adjusted speed. He wasn't very productive in the passing game, but he flashed potential as a route runner. I have him comped, just play style wise, I have him comped to Alvin Kamara. He reminds his style of play reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara. I know he's not going to be Kamara, don't get me wrong, but just play style wise, he looks like him a little bit. He has a good chance to become the first running back in Florida International history. They've never had a running back drafted. He has the chance to be the first one to ever be selected in the NFL draft. And if he does, it's likely going to be on day 3 to a team looking to add some depth to its running back room. And in Dynasty Rookie Drafts, A guy with Price's athleticism is absolutely worth one of these late round flyers. So a minute ago, I talked about Alec Pierce. He's on a very small list of guys who, if I were to draft a wide receiver in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds of Dynasty Rookie Drafts, is one of the very few guys that's on that list of guys who I'd maybe be willing to pull the trigger on. Another one is Bo Melton from Rutgers. He's a former 4-star prospect whose college production was limited thanks in part to poor quarterback play. A big part of poor quarterback play, really. And his coaches found creative ways to get him the football, whether it be on screen passes, rush attempts, kick returns. It was clear they wanted to get the ball in his hands. And who could blame them? Melton has blazing sub 4.4 speed. He ran a 4.34 at the NFL Combine with the burst and elusiveness to make plays from anywhere on the field. He does struggle versus physical corners in incontested situations, but he's a good enough route runner to create consistent separation and not find himself in those situations very often. There is some speculation that he's drafted in round 3, which would be amazing, because if that happens, he quickly becomes a very intriguing pick in Dynasty Rookie Drafts as a 3rd round sleeper. So he comes in at number 37. At 36, running back from Iowa, Tyler Goodson. These next 3 backs I have ranked consecutively. You could really, I've struggled ranking them, like between them among each other. You just give me one of them, I'm happy. But at 36, I got Tyler Goodson from Iowa. He's a good all-around athlete. He's got 4.42 speed. He's got above average burst and agility. He may not possess the traits of a dominant between the tackles runner, but he showed he can handle a heavy workload while also bringing value to the passing game, which is what we want. We want these guys who can catch passes. He ran routes from the backfield, the slot. He lined up out wide. He is best in space where he can take advantage of his impressive ability to quickly change direction without losing speed. Goodson projects as a late day 3 pick who's going to be a change of pace back, a 3rd down specialist in the NFL. He should be on the Dynasty radar beginning in the middle of round 3 in rookie drafts. At 35, again, like I said, I could rank this next 3 anywhere, in any combination of the 3. I really have no strong preference. I like them all. At 35 is Ty Chandler, a running back from North Carolina. He has potential as a receiving threat in the NFL. He never really had impressive numbers in that area. No more than 19 receptions in a single season. But when the opportunities came about to catch passes for him, he showed he has natural hands with the athleticism and versatility to develop into a weapon. Chandler will likely never carry the load, but there's a role for him in the NFL as a change of pace ball carrier and a big play receiver. Coming in at 34, it's Tyler Beatty, running back from Missouri. So we got Tyler, Ty, and Tyler again. This one's Beatty. Running backs like Tyler Beatty, who present in Chandler and Goodson, guys like this who present a dynamic weapon in the passing game, have become increasingly valuable in the pass-happy NFL. With his receiving profile, Beatty will be a priority pick on day 3 for a team that is looking to add that element to its running back room. He projects as a 3rd down back who can run routes, lined up out wide, in the slot, and from the backfield. And with a heavy workload as a senior, he proved he can handle 10 to 15 carries a game when called upon as well. 33, we're gonna get to quarterback now a little bit. The last ranked quarterback for me in my top 50, coming in at 33, is Sam Howell from North Carolina. Who knows where these guys are going to go in the NFL draft? It's still completely unknown. I mean, a guy like Howell, for example, I've seen mock drafts with him as high as the top 10 to the Panthers and as low as the middle of the 2nd round. Who the fuck knows where these guys are going to go? It's crazy. That's how bad this quarterback class is, though. Just there's no consensus really. It's very strange. I haven't seen a draft class like this in a long time. But we got Sam Howell here. His passing production took a serious step back in 2021 after losing several key weapons to the NFL. You know, he lost Dyami Brown. He lost Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. However, even though his passing, production took a big step back, his rushing production soared, rocketed up. 828 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns on the ground for Sam Howell in 2021. His draft projection is like I said, it's the most difficult to predict of the top quarterbacks in the class. They're all difficult, even Malik Willis, but especially Sam Howell. Like I said, he's gone anywhere from as high as top 10, while others having him fall out of the first round altogether. It's going to be a really fun draft because of this. But when his name is called, it's going to tell us how the NFL truly feels about him, and it's going to play a significant role in where he settles in rookie ADP. Moving ahead to 32 is Wan'Dale Robinson. He's a very polarizing prospect. Some absolutely love him. Others have completely just written him off because of his size. He's small but mighty. And I kind of land in between. I really like his production profile. It's fantastic, but then you tell me he's 5'8", 170 pounds. It's just like, I don't know if I can draft a guy like that. He's Rondale Moore, just with less athleticism, and that's not exciting. It's just, we've seen too many of these guys. So that's why he's ranked down here at 32. But like I said, I've seen him ranked a lot later than this as well. So he scores very, very well in our production-based prospect profile. He comes out really well in that. But then you factor in the size, and it's just like, I don't know if I can press the button. But he's a talented route runner. He consistently creates separation. He's electric with the ball in his hands. And he's a guy that coaches want to get the ball to as much as possible. We saw that at Kentucky. He carried the ball 141 times throughout his career. He was deployed as a kick returner throughout his 3 seasons. This is a wide receiver with over 140 carries in his career. He projects as a primary slot guy who will contribute as a number 3 wide receiver. He's also going to be a gadget guy. He's going to return kicks. And in Dynasty, like I said, he's been slipping down draft boards, but as fantasy managers are terrified of his size. And while it's certainly a factor, and frankly, it does put a cap on his ceiling, he's too talented to let slip down the board too far. So that's where he settles in at 32. Coming in at 31, we're back to tight end. It's Greg Dulcich from UCLA. He was an unranked recruit out of St. Francis High School in California. He received no offers, and he walked on at UCLA. And he broke out in the 2020 season. He led the Bruins with 517 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns on 26 receptions that year. And he was second team All Pac-12. And then that bumped up to first team All Pac-12 in 2021 when he caught 42 balls for 725 yards and 5 touchdowns. Pretty damn good for an unranked prospect and a former walk-on. He's a good athlete, and he projects as a move tight end in the NFL. He's a vertical threat who averaged over 17 yards per reception in 2021 and nearly 20 yards per reception. I think it was 19.9 in 2020. So it's like downfield receiving threat tight end. He's probably going to be more of a big slot than a tight end, kind of like an Evan Ingram type guy. He's improved as a route runner, but he needs to continue to improve as a route runner. And if he does, in the short and intermediate quadrants of the field, along with his down the field presence, he can really develop into a consistent fantasy football producer. So I got Greg Dulcich at 31. I'm not really drafting tight ends in my Dynasty Rookie Drafts. That's why he's ranked so low. I've seen a lot of rankers have him a lot higher. And, if it's purely based on talent, I'd probably put him a little bit higher as well. But I just don't draft tight ends very often in my rookie drafts because they take so long to break out normally. So, coming in at 30, it's a small school guy I'm really excited about. Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. He's a fast, versatile athlete who dominated over his last 2 seasons at Southern Alabama. He projects as an X or a Z at the NFL level. This is an outside guy. He can use his speed and vertical ability to make plays down the field. Unfortunately, he's not quite as polished as you'd want to see from an older prospect. With the experience that he has, it will likely take a little bit of time to get going, which you normally don't see from these 4th, 5th year players. But I think because of the small school and I don't know. He's just going to take a little bit more time. He's not quite as polished as we'd like. But once he gets on the field, I think he can be a starting wide receiver on the outside. He certainly checks some big boxes analytically, but those are slightly discounted. Like I said, they're slightly discounted due to the level of competition and the age at which they were accomplished. He was a little bit of a late breakout. He's certainly a decent pick in the 3rd round of rookie drafts based on upside. At 29, we're back to quarterback is Matt Corral. He's moved all over my rankings. I don't know what to do with him. I don't think the NFL knows what to do with him. Who knows where he's going to go, draft capital or landing spot-wise. I've had him in my 30s. I've had him in my low 20s. Now he's in the high 20s. Settling in my pre-draft top 50. He's at 29 from Ole Miss. He may actually be the best pure passer in this class. However, questions remain whether he can create on his own and work through his progressions at an NFL caliber level. He relies on rhythm and timing and can get thrown off when those get disrupted. And in fantasy football, his ceiling is not as high as some of the more athletic guys like Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett. But with some development, he can become like a Derek Carr level quarterback. At 28 is Tyler Algiere. This is another guy who has moved all over my rankings. I had him before the NFL Combine, before we knew he wasn't that athletic. This is a guy I was thinking about in the 2nd, maybe even the 1st round of rookie drafts. Then after the Combine, he dropped all the way outside my top 35. Settles in here at 28 because I think he's going to get some pretty decent draft capital in the NFL. Once he's settled into the RB1 job at BYU, there's really no going back. This is a former 2-way player. He played some linebacker. This is a guy who is a linebacker in college. This guy played linebacker in college. And he combined for over 3,000 yards from scrimmage in his final 2 seasons at BYU after making the transition to full-time running back. And his linebacker background is actually apparent when you watch him run the football. He is violent and aggressive in his style. Almost like he's the guy. He's the tackler. He runs like a linebacker. He projects as an RB1 in a 2-headed backfield, kind of reminiscent of how the Cardinals paired James Conner with Chase Edmonds in 2021. His one-cut running style and excellent vision at the line of scrimmage make him a great fit for a zone-heavy rushing scheme. He has solid receiving skills and pass-blocking ability to become a 3-down threat. I have him comped to James Conner. He's not super athletic, but he's a violent runner. Going to do well in between the tackles. Decent as a pass catcher. Kind of he's like James Conner. I just described James Conner. And I think that's Tyler Algiere. So we got him here at 28. At 27 is probably my favorite, or at least one of my favorite small school sleeper running backs, and that's Pierre Strong. It seems like every draft we have a running back come out of almost nowhere and rocket up draft boards. In 2022, that guy is Pierre Strong. He put himself on the radar with a speedy 4.37 40 at the NFL Combine, the fastest among all the running backs. And with that performance, I think he took himself from an undrafted free agent to a day 3 pick. And an early day 3 pick. I think this guy could go in the 4th round. If he didn't run that 4.37 at the Combine, he's probably undrafted. He's from South Dakota State. He's probably not going to be drafted. But then he runs a 4.37. I think he could be a 4th round pick. And if he does, I'm loving taking him here in the middle of the 3rd round. Maybe even the back end of the 2nd round of 1 quarterback rookie drafts. It's that day 3 capital, it makes him a legitimate selection in Dynasty Rookie Drafts. If he goes in round 4, round 5, he's going to be a priority pick. Like I said, he could make it in the 2nd round of rookie drafts. And even if he goes in the 6th or the 7th, he should be considered among a small group of running backs who has a chance to become this year's Elijah Mitchell or James Robinson. He has a good receiving profile. He's got impressive athleticism. He's got requisite size. And as a runner, he's best when he makes an early cut up the field and gets north and south. He's going to be a committee back or like a depth guy early on in his career. But like Mitchell and Robinson, he could be just an injury away from getting a significant opportunity. And that may be all it takes for his career and his dynasty value to just rocket up. So I love me some Pierre Strong. I'm excited about him. He's one of these guys I'm absolutely watching to see where he goes in the draft. Coming in at 26 is the tight end 1 in this class, and that's Trey McBride from Colorado State. This is a guy who is a 3-sport athlete in high school. He broke his school record for most points scored in basketball. He also holds the record for most runs and RBI in baseball. But obviously he pursued football. He started 5 games as a freshman at Colorado State. He was first team All-Mountain West Conference as a sophomore and second team as a junior. He had, in 2021, he had 90 receptions. We don't see a lot of tight ends producing at a high level in college. But this guy, he produced at a high level. 90 receptions, over 1,120 yards, 1 touchdown. He was first team All-American, first team All-Conference. He's going to be a versatile tight end who can line up in line or split out wide, in the slot, wherever. He's going to move all around the formation. I'm excited about Trey McBride a little bit. Not as excited as some people. I think it's a weak tight end class. There's no dominant tight end 1. In most classes in the past, he'd be like the tight end 2, tight end 3. But he's definitely the tight end 1 in this class. There's a few to get excited about. Trey McBride, I probably won't draft much of him. I think I've got him ranked lower than a lot of people do, but he's definitely the tight end 1. At 25 is Kenny Pickett, quarterback from Pittsburgh. I got a comment here asking how I feel about David Bell. He's coming up here in a few picks. I'll tell you all about how I feel about David Bell in a few minutes. But right now at 25, we got Kenny Pickett from the quarterback from Pittsburgh. He was a late bloomer in college. He topped 4,000 yards passing with 42 touchdowns and a 67.2% completion percentage in 2021. He brings an element as a runner as well. He had 20 rushing touchdowns over his 5 seasons. Unless you've been living under a rock, and you already know he's got tiny hands. We've all heard about tiny hands from Kenny Pickett. Actually, if you go to his player page on yardsperfantasy.com, we put up a picture of him holding up his hands. Sorry if that's kind of mean, but he's got baby hands, and it's gonna affect him in the NFL potentially. How much, we don't know. That's kind of like a wait and see how much is going to affect him, but the bigger the hands, the more velocity you can put on the football, the more control you have of the football. when you throw it, as well as, in rainy, snowy conditions, hanging onto the ball. You get, these pass rushers coming along the edge, karate chopping the forearm. Can you hang on to it? So, we don't know. And is this another guy we have no idea where he's going to land, draft capital wise or team wise? He could go as high as 6, 7, to the Panthers. He could go. I've seen some people projecting he doesn't even make it into the first round. We don't even know if he was invited to the NFL draft. The stories on that are kind of iffy, whether he declined his invite or just wasn't invited at all. And if he wasn't invited at all, that kind of tells you something about how the NFL feels about this guy and where he's going to go. If they're not inviting him, they're probably expecting him to not be drafted in the first round at all. So we don't know. We don't know where he's going to go. And we don't know where Desmond Ridder's going to go or any of these quarterbacks. And I do have these quarterbacks ranked back-to-back here, going from 25 at Pickett to 24 to Desmond Ridder, the quarterback from Cincinnati. I think he's the most underrated quarterback in the 2022 class. He is my QB2, barely. Obviously, I got these guys ranked back-to-back. Barely my QB2. Like I said, with draft capital, that can absolutely change. It appears the NFL likes him better than fantasy analysts, so his draft capital might actually come sooner than most expect, or it could come later. Like I said, we've got no idea. And it's weird. It's weird this year with these quarterbacks. But this guy, Ridder, he's an excellent athlete. He ran a 4.5 240 at the NFL Combine. And he can eat up chunks of yards on the ground. He's going to need to develop in some areas of his game, like accuracy, read progression, decision-making. But he has a chance to become a steady starter in the NFL. Somewhere kind of on that Dak Prescott, Ryan Tannehill spectrum of quarterbacks for real life. So we'll see where he goes. Going to be a lot of fun with these quarterbacks. Another guy, speaking of fun, Calvin Austin. He's tiny. His size certainly will limit areas of his game. He's a 5'8", 170 pound guy. It's going to put a cap on his ceiling. We just don't see guys of this size like being wide receiver ones in the NFL very often. But we can't completely ignore him because of his size. What's actually more concerning to me than his size is actually his late breakout. One of the greatest indicators of success at the next level is age-adjusted production. And as a guy who was an unranked recruit, a walk-on at Memphis, and a redshirt freshman who didn't produce meaningful productions until his age 21 season, Calvin Austin fails mightily in the age-adjusted production category. But there are some things to be excited about, and that's why I have him ranked at 23. He's got Olympic-level speed. This guy can run. He's definitely he's one of the fastest running backs, wide receivers in the class. But he's more than a speed guy. He's incredible in space, nifty moves, explosion, acceleration. This guy can run after the catch. He's a good route runner who can control his speed and create separation. He has the versatility to play both outside and in the slot. He's going to make an immediate impact in the NFL. As a returner and a gadget guy, with the opportunity to carve out a more significant role on the offense. We'll see how much his size caps him, but he's got playmaker written all over him. Maybe he's T.Y. Hilton. Who knows? 22. Number 22 is a wide receiver that I have ranked, I think, significantly higher than a lot of other people. And that's Alabama wide receiver John Mechie. I know questions still remain about his speed and his all-around athleticism, and unfortunately we're just not going to get the answers to that thanks to his ACL injury that happened late in the season. But like I said, there's a lot to like about this guy. He's an experienced route runner. He creates separation. He can eat up yardage after the catch. He commanded targets. He was productive. playing alongside Devontae Smith in 2020 and then Jamison Williams in 2021. He wasn't the alpha in those passing games. He's not going to be an alpha in the NFL. But to be productive alongside of big-time target hog wide receivers, it's something we got to like. It's something we got to like. He does have a late breakout, which is a concern as well, but he was on that stacked depth chart with all those Alabama wide receivers for years. He projects as a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. I think the NFL likes him more than fantasy gamers like him, so he's going to get some decent draft capital. He's going to line up majority of the time from the slot, and from a dynasty perspective, he feels like a decent, second or third round pick. But disclaimer on that, he does lack some of the upside, and that's why he's ranked lower on a lot of other people's rankings than I have him here. He does lack a lot of the upside that some of the players who are going to be drafted around him have. But I think he's a really safe pick. And if you're comfortable taking a safe pick and not having to take a big swing home run, I think John Mechie's your guy. Coming in at 21, I told you I would talk about David Bell in just a few minutes. And that is where I've got David Bell. At 21, the wide receiver from Purdue. This guy was highly productive in all 3 seasons at Purdue. However, to say he tested with underwhelming athleticism would be an understatement. At 6'1", 209 pounds, he ran a sluggish 4.65 40 at the NFL Combine, and he performed even worse in the explosion and agility drills. So that's, pre-NFL Combine, I had him ranked probably borderline first round in one quarterback rookie drafts. Now he's barely hanging on in the second. While athleticism for wide receivers is often overrated, this type of poor showing across the board, he's got no athletic trait to hang his hat on. He's got really good agility. He doesn't have to be a big speed guy, but say, he's got good agility, or he's got good explosion. He's got none of that. If you go to playerprofiler.com, they've got the bars for the athleticism. His are all just at the bottom. They're just all at the bottom across the board. It's sad. It's depressing because this guy, like I said, he was so productive at Purdue. So productive. And I think kind of like Tyler Johnson a few years ago, the Buccaneers wide receiver. He was so productive at Minnesota, but then he tested so poorly athletically. And the NFL just didn't like him. The NFL didn't like him. I think he was drafted in the 5th round, where his production would have told you he's kind of like a second-round guy. But the athleticism just really torpedoed his draft capital in the NFL, and I think David Bell could be that guy, unfortunately, because he does check a lot of analytical boxes when you look at age-adjusted production. His production profile is fantastic. It's just, playing alongside Rondale Moore, he was great. It's just, I know athleticism for wideouts is overrated, but when it's this bad, it's bad. So I probably won't be drafting a lot of David Bell, unfortunately. Coming in at 20, a guy who I probably will be drafting a lot of, and one of my favorite sleeper running backs in this draft, is Kevin Harris, the running back from South Carolina. He had an extremely productive sophomore season. I just talked about how age-adjusted production. We want these guys producing at an early age, early in their college careers. Kevin Harris did that. Sophomore production was extremely, which I think he led the SEC in rushing yards. The SEC, not just like some random conference. He led the SEC in rushing in his sophomore season. And he showed he can be a workhorse running back that dominates in between the tackles in his short yardage situations. While his passing game work, does need some improvement, he projects as a 2-down bruiser in the NFL. He's big, and he's powerful, and he's got enough juice to break off some chunk plays from time to time. he is trending downward a little bit in my rankings. I'm worried about the draft capital. This guy kind of had an unfortunate process here getting ready for the NFL draft. Had some injuries with his hamstring at his pro day in the combine, and, coming off a back injury a year ago that really hurt his junior season production. But I do like Kevin Harris a lot, and I got him ranked here at 20. At 19, another running back is Jerome Ford. He's a classic north-south runner who, after years of waiting for his shot, he proved he can be a workhorse back in 2021. This is a guy who started his career at Alabama. He sat behind Najee Harris and Damien Harris and Josh Jacobs, all those guys who've come out over the last few years from Alabama. And then he's like, fuck this. I'm not waiting anymore for my turn. Probably knew he was going to be stuck behind Brian Robinson now in 2021. So he transferred to Cincinnati. And it paid off. It paid off. He was a big-time producer in his one season in 2021 at Cincinnati. This is a fast and explosive guy who's going to fit into any rushing scheme in the NFL. He's probably, going to be like a 1A, 1B type back, alongside another running back who has complementary skills. He's going to dominate in short yardage situations while also presenting like a big play threat. This guy breaks off big runs at a high rate. He will need to improve his receiving skills if he's ever going to become a 3-down back, but he has shown enough to think it's possible that he gets there. He's likely going to find draft capital on day 2, early day 3, and he's going to be a guy to target in the second round of rookie drafts. At 18, I got James Cook, running back from Georgia. He may be the brother of Dalvin Cook, but their games just aren't. They're really not similar. They're not similar running backs. James is a smaller back who was never the lead guy in college. He's not going to win with power, nor is he going to win. He's going to handle a heavy workload or grind out yards between the tackles. Instead, he thrives in the passing game. At Georgia, he lined up out wide, in the slot. He ran a variety of routes out of the backfield. He projects as more of like a change of pace back in the NFL. He's going to create mismatches, and he's going to be used as a weapon in the passing game. While he won't ever be a true workhorse, he will be able to handle 7 to 10 carries a game. He's going to be best in an outside zone scheme where his speed and his one-cut running style can be fully appreciated. He's likely to hear his name called sometime, probably in the 3rd round. He could even... this guy could go in the back end of the 2nd round. He could go sometime in the 3rd round or even early on day 3. We just, it's hard to put your finger on where James Cook is going to land. I think he's got some of that prestige, coming from Georgia. He's Dalvin Cook's brother. He's excellent in the passing game. So he could end up with pretty decent draft capital because of that. In Dynasty, he's a safe pick. I think he's a safe pick with some upside. But he's a safe pick at the end of the 2nd or early in the 3rd round of your rookie drafts. Coming at 17, this guy is shooting up my draft board, and he's shooting up NFL draft boards as well. It's Damien Pierce, the running back from Florida. While there's certainly holes in his profile, Pierce is one of the more well-rounded running backs in this class. He has the size, the power, tackle-breaking ability to thrive in between the tackles in short yardage situations, while also providing value on passing downs. He's got natural hands, good route running, quality pass protection. It's, you don't get to say that a lot about running backs coming out. We usually this guy needs some work as a pass protector. This guy's got it. This guy's a good pass protector, which isn't obviously this huge factor, but it helps him get drafted because NFL coaches, they appreciate that. So that's going to move him up their draft boards, which is going to get him more draft capital. And it's also going to help him get on the field early in his career. He's going to need to prove that he can handle a heavy workload, though, at the next level. Because he was never they kind of had a weird offense in Florida. The way they use their running backs, probably suboptimally. They should have probably leaned on Damien Pierce more. They didn't. So he was never this like big, heavy workload guy. But I think he can do it. Just because he didn't do it at Florida doesn't mean he can't do it at the NFL. Either way, he's going to be an instant producer as a third down back for whoever drafts him. And that's going to provide a nice floor for his fantasy managers. And like I said, there's upside to become a lot more. At 16, Christian Watson. This is a guy who I still think I have ranked a little bit lower than a lot of people, but he has been rising up my board. He's a wide receiver out of a small school in North Dakota State. The fact, and this is my concern, the fact that Christian Watson was unable to produce meaningful offensive production until his third year at North Dakota State is a pretty big red flag for me. At a bigger school, sure, we'll give him a little bit of a pass. But at a program that hasn't had a wide receiver drafted since 1985, so we know he doesn't have like this ton of competition on his depth chart to break through, it's concerning. It's concerning. That aside, Watson is a big play threat. He's got incredible dynamic ability. His impact in the return game is huge. And he had nearly 500 career rushing yards. 500 career rushing yards for this wide receiver, this big 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver. 500, I think it was 492 was the exact number of rushing yards he had in his career. And it just shows how important, because he also had like 600 yards returning as well, returning kicks. It just shows how important that his team felt it was to get the ball in his hands, and we want that. We want these guys who show that their teams want to get the ball to them as much as possible, because it tells you that they have talent. At the NFL level, Watson projects as an immediate, like special teams contributor. I think that's what he's going to be early on in his career. He's going to be a returner. He's also going to be on coverage units, which is going to help him get better draft capital. Because teams, like I said, with Damien Pierce, they appreciate that versatility, a guy who can come in, have an immediate impact on their team. He may not be an instant top wide receiver, but he's going to produce and provide value to their team in other ways, which is going to help get that draft capital. And then you add on his upside and potential as a wide receiver. This guy's probably going in the second round. I don't know if he's going to make much of an impact early on offense, but with some time to develop, he can probably be an outside vertical threat who's going to specialize in splash plays. This is a big play guy. And like I said, it's looking more and more like he's going to come off the board on day 2, second, third round, probably the second. For me, I think like the early 4th round would be more appropriate, but obviously I don't get to make that call. So I got Christian Watson at 16. At 15, one of my favorite guys. How do you not love this guy? It's Sky Moore. Just start with his name. Sky Moore with 2 Y's. The wide receiver from Western Michigan. He's a fast, explosive player with versatility and quickness. He combined all of those traits for an incredibly productive 3rd season at Western Michigan. He can win in all areas of the field. He'll use his great speed to get open deep, his nifty route running to win in the short and intermediate areas of the field, and his explosion, acceleration, and quickness to turn a slant or a screen into a long score. Moore will likely settle in as a slot or a Z receiver, kind of a little versatile guy who can play in the slot or out at Z at the NFL level. And teams will manufacture touches to take advantage of his run after catch ability. He's another one of these guys who the team just wants to get the ball in his hands as much as possible. He checks a bunch of the analytical boxes, and he crushed the NFL Combine. He's just knocking off boxes as he's gone through this process. he could easily be this year's Elijah Moore. At 14, my QB1, it's Malik Willis. Willis's range of outcomes are as wide as anyone's. His athleticism and mobility will allow him to extend plays and pick up chunks with his feet. And if he can rein in his accuracy and decision making, he could become one of the more exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL. Like I said, we have no idea where he's going to go. But unlike some of these other guys who could go as high as the top 10 or as late as the second round, Malik Willis is locked into the first round, probably in the top 10, probably in the top 5. So at least we have a little bit better feel for Malik Willis. We just don't know the team. Is he going to go to Detroit? Is he going to go to Carolina? We'll have to find out. We're going to find out very soon. At 13 is Isaiah Spiller. He's a guy who has just, the bottom has fallen out of his value during the pre-draft process, which is unfortunate. His athleticism is just not where it needs to be. And we don't know where he's going to be drafted. Before the NFL Combine, looks like this guy was going to he had a chance to be the first running back drafted, a second-round guy. And then we found out he's slow and he's unathletic and he really doesn't have any special traits. So he could still go in the second round. The NFL still likes him. Or he could go in day 3. It's just, we just don't know. If he goes day 3, he's certainly not going to be ranked at 13 for me. I won't be drafting him at all. He's probably looking like a third-round rookie pick at best. At this point, he could, like I said, he could still go day 2, which is why we have to have him ranked here at 13. I still don't love it. He's your traditional north-south power back who wins with size and lower body strength. And while breaking off long runs, like I said, he doesn't have that speed. It's going to be rare for him in the NFL. He does have patience and vision to take full advantage of the opportunities in front of him. He's a big, durable back who he'll easily handle 20 carries in any given game. It's just I don't know how productive he's going to be with it. He's skilled enough in the passing game to warrant third down usage as well. If like I said, athleticism aside. He displayed good hands at Texas A&M, and he had more than 20 receptions in all 3 seasons, despite a limited route tree. He's a big question mark. Isaiah Spiller is a big question mark. NFL is going to have to tell us how they feel about him before I can confidently lock him into an area of rookie drafts. But I can tell you, I probably won't be drafting any Isaiah Spiller, no matter where he goes. Unless it's great draft capital, because then, that's really all you need for an opportunity, and opportunity turns into fantasy points. At 12, it's Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver from Penn State. This is a big play threat with excellent speed, acceleration. He's got good hands. And what makes him exceptionally dangerous is his versatility to line up anywhere on the field and to create separation on all 3 levels. His Penn State career got off to a quiet start, but ended with a bang. He had dominator ratings of over 40% in each of his last 2 seasons, while commanding 30% of the targets in 2021. He will be best in a spread offense with a vertical attack that allows him to use his full range of abilities. At 11, we're getting there. We're into the first round now. At 11, we got Zamir White, running back from Georgia. This is another guy. Draft capital could be kind of all over the place. He's probably going to be a day 2 guy, but there's a little bit of rumblings coming out that he could end up being the first running back drafted in the NFL. Even over Breece Hall. That's wild. But it sounds like the NFL likes Zamir White more than your typical fantasy analyst. So this is another guy we're going to have to keep track of. Like I said, he's been a big riser, and a lot of that is because of his performance at the NFL Combine. He tested with excellent size-adjusted speed and burst. And when we factor that into his incredible recruiting profile and his solid rushing production over the last 2 seasons, he suddenly becomes one of the more intriguing prospects at his position. The concerns come in the passing game. White was barely utilized as a receiver with just 17 career receptions and a target share below 3% in 2021. And that's why we can't get him up any higher than where he is right now at 11. Still, he has the juice to become a 2-down workhorse at the NFL level. And if draft capital goes in his favor, he's going to be a sneaky good pick at the back end of the first round of rookie drafts. Coming in at 10, in the top 10 now, we're almost there. Brian Robinson, another running back. This guy from Alabama. He waited in line for a long time at Alabama. Like I talked about with Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford was just like, fuck it, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. Brian Robinson got that 5th year, and he finally got his shot to be the guy in year 5, and he took full advantage. He showed he's a tough inside runner who thrives in short yardage situations and goal line opportunities. He's a big, powerful back who has no trouble shaking off would-be tacklers. He won't outrun many NFL defenders, and he will need to improve in pass protection if he ever dreams of becoming more than a 2-down back. But the good news is he proved he could be a capable pass catcher with 35 receptions in 2021. And as an Alabama guy, we can expect Robinson to find pretty decent draft capital just because of the helmet. Probably late round 2s, late 2nd round, early 3rd round. His career trajectory is probably going to be somewhere in between Damien Harris and Najee Harris. Kind of probably, as it all shakes out, he's probably going to end up kind of in between those two guys. And in 1-quarterback dynasty leagues, he should become a consideration as we get to about pick 10 in the first round. And number 9 is one of my favorite guys. But another guy that draft capital is really going to drive the train here, and that's Rachaad White, the running back from Arizona State. Right now, I've got him at 9. I'm excited about that. If he gets that 2nd round draft capital, he's going to go up, probably might even break into the top 5. And then if he ends up on day 3, he's going to fall out of the first round. So, I mean, right now we got him at 9, but these are very, very fluid, at least once we get to the NFL draft itself. He had a long journey. Rachaad White had a long journey to the NFL, but not only did he make it, he's considered one of the top backs in the class. It's pretty impressive. I mean, he may be the best pass catcher in this group. Only Max Borghi had more receiving yards in a season among all these 2022 backs. And White did it on half the receptions. He was also 2nd among this class in receptions per game with 3.4 over his career. It's going to be no surprise then if he's going to find an immediate role as a pass-catching specialist in the NFL, and that role could evolve into a 3-down opportunity, which would only put White into position to be a highly sought-after running back in fantasy football. When you think of his upside, think 2016 David Johnson. At number 8, George Pickens, the wide receiver from Georgia. Pickens' career, he's got off to a phenomenal start. He led the Bulldogs in receiving yards and touchdowns as a true freshman at age 18. We talked about that earlier, how we like that age-adjusted production. We want these guys to come in and make an immediate impact early on in their careers at a young age. George Pickens did that. But after an underwhelming 2020 season and a lost 2021 season due to injury, a lot of questions remain, about his transition to the NFL. Still, I mean, we have to weigh that early production quite heavily, especially considering he is likely to find 2nd-round NFL draft capital. He's going to be back to full health for his rookie season. He'll likely find a starting role as a perimeter wide receiver where he can take advantage of his size, his catch radius, and ability to win in contested situations. While there are certainly a few concerns on his profile, he'll make a good pick right here in the middle of the first round of Dynasty Rookie Drafts I like George Pickens. He could end up being the best receiver in this class when it all shakes out a few years from now. At number 7 is another Alabama wide receiver. It is Jameson Williams. The red flag on Jameson Williams is the complete lack of production in his freshman and sophomore seasons, which he actually started at Ohio State. But his 2021 season was so dominant that we can almost forget about the Ohio State disaster. Almost. He projects as a first round, he's going to be a first round wide receiver, despite the ACL injury that he suffered in the national championship game. And there is some buzz that he could be the number 1 wide receiver drafted in the NFL draft, despite the ACL injury. We don't know what he's going to be in his rookie season, because that it was like the first week of January when he tore his ACL. We don't know when he's going to be ready. He's not going to be there for off-season workouts. Not going to be ready for training camp. May not be ready for the start of the season, health-wise, or even just reps with the offense-wise. So it could be a lost rookie campaign, but we don't know. We don't know yet. We'll see how that all shakes out. Supposedly he's ahead of schedule. But if we talk about the long-term, if we take the long-term look with Jameson Williams, he's going to slide into whenever he gets healthy, he's going to be like a slot and a Z receiver. He's going to be kind of a versatile inside-outside guy. He's going to take full advantage of his quickness. And he's going to want to avoid the physical press man coverage by playing out a Z rather than X. This is a speed guy. He's a speed guy. He can do more than that, but he's going to be an instant weapon for whoever drafts him as soon as he's healthy. His speed and explosion is going to allow him to dominate the deep quadrants of the field, while his route running and agility make him a complete receiver who can also get open underneath. NFL offenses will design plays around his skill set, while defenses are going to be forced. They're going to have to game plan for this guy. Williams is one of the better wide receivers in the 2022 draft class, and he should be drafted as such in rookie drafts. Coming at number 6, Chris Olave. Ohio State wide receiver Chris Olave. He's a smooth operator. He's got excellent route running and top-end speed. He has the versatility to play both outside and in the slot. His body control and ball skills are among the best in this class. He's not going to be great after the catch, but before the catch, he's awesome. Before the catch and at the catch point, he is awesome. He's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, and he projects as a high-volume playmaker at the NFL level. We're going to go back-to-back wide receivers here from Ohio State. That's Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson comes in at number 5. If he isn't the first wide receiver to hear his name called on draft night, he's not going to be far behind. He's not going to be far behind. He was highly productive at Ohio State, even while playing alongside Chris Olave. Wilson wins with speed, acceleration, and incredible body control. He can make the most difficult catches look routine. His route running will need to be refined, and he will likely struggle versus physical corners. But that aside, Wilson is excellent at creating yardage after the catch. And whoever drafts, so if you want to compare Olave and Garrett Wilson is better than Olave after the catch. Olave is better than Wilson before the catch. But they're both excellent receivers. And I'm excited about both of these guys. But like I was saying, whoever drafts him is going to want to take advantage of that after the catch ability, get him manufactured touches like screens, drag routes, jet sweeps. He projects as a Z receiver. He may also spend some time in the slot. But wherever he lines up, defense is going to have to key in on him in order to avoid falling victim to his big playability. In Dynasty, he should be considered among the top 3 receivers in the class and a lock to come off the board in the top 6 picks of one quarterback rookie drafts. Number 4 is Drake London. I love this guy, wide receiver from USC. He was on pace to have one of the more dominant receiving seasons we've seen before fracturing his ankle in the middle of the season. Luckily, we did get to see enough from him to confidently say he has one of the highest ceilings among all the wide receivers in the 2022 class. He's a big-bodied beast with all the tools to become an elite dynasty receiver. He has the versatility to be a prototypical X receiver or a big slot. And that, paired with his knack for eating up yardage after the catch, should steer him clear of comparisons to recent, outside clasher types who haven't translated to the next level. I'm looking at you, N'Keal Harry. Landing spot will play somewhat of a factor in London's final rankings. We don't want him going to the Jets. Ideally, he'll be matched up with a quarterback who's comfortable throwing up those one-on-one deep balls and doesn't always have to see his guy get open. That's going to give London the best chance to fully unlock his potential. Let's get to the top 3. And my wide receiver 1 in this class, and that is Treylon Burks from Arkansas. He's a solid athlete, 6'2", 225 pounds. He was a little underwhelming at the combine, but considering his size, it's not like this. It's not like, oh my god, he's unathletic. We were hoping for faster. We were hoping for a little bit more athleticism from him. Now he's kind of drawing some comparisons to N'Keal Harry because of that, but I like Burks. He used that big frame, that big size to his advantage at Arkansas, eating up yardage after the catch. As a returner, he had nearly 40 career rush attempts during his career. So this is another guy, like we talked about earlier, like they want to get the ball in his hands in a variety of ways and as much as possible. That's a big green light for me. We want those guys because that says he's talented. And while he played a ton of slot in college, the expectation is he's going to line up out as X the majority of the time in the NFL. And that's going to allow him to take full advantage of that size and maximize that fantasy football potential. We've seen numerous wide receivers come in and make an immediate impact over the last few years. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, a bunch of these guys have come in, made a big impact, been productive at a high level right out the gate as rookies. I think Burks has a strong opportunity. He's a strong candidate to add himself to that list. He'll be a threat on all 3 levels. Wherever he lands, his offense is gonna want to manufacture touches for him, just like they did at Arkansas. Take advantage of that run after catch ability while also making him a primary. Let's try that again. While also making him a primary target in the deep and intermediate quadrants of the field. It would be a shock to see Burks still on the board, outside the top, 20, 25 picks. I think he goes probably in the top 20, top 25. A lot of people have him pointed at the Cowboys. Jerry Jones went to Arkansas. They need a wide receiver. Seems like a natural fit. If that happens, that's exciting. He locks himself in the wide receiver 1 spot. But he could also be the first wide receiver drafted. We just, we don't know yet. A lot of uncertainty with these wide receivers, where they're going to go. But he's locked in the first round. And like I said, if he lands somewhere like the Cowboys, he locks himself into this wide receiver 1 spot. Our production-based prospect model for wide receivers at yardsperfantasy.com loves Treylon Burks. I love Treylon Burks too. And number 2, let's go to the top 2. Number 2 is Michigan State running back Kenneth Walker. He started his career at Wake Forest, transferred in 2021 to Michigan State, and boy, did that pay off. He may be the best pure runner in this class. He is versatile in his running style. He wins with impressive combination of power, speed, and elusiveness. His early career outlook is as a 2-down workhorse. With some development as a pass catcher, he could evolve into a 3-down bell cow. While his involvement in that area during his college career, was certainly underwhelming, and almost a red flag how much he was not used in the passing game. not all hope is lost. Not all hope is lost that he can be a more productive as a pass catcher in the NFL than he was in college. I mean, for one, he caught over 60 passes for more than 1,000 yards during his college career. So we know there is some skill, some ability in that area for him. And we've seen guys like Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Dillon go from unproven pass catchers at the college level to having productive receiving seasons in the NFL. So if Walker can follow in their footsteps, his ceiling is as high as anyone's. His size-adjusted speed and incredible tackle-eluding ability will likely get him drafted in early round 2 as the second running back off the board, but who knows how the NFL sees this guy. They may take him as the number 1 back in the class. In Dynasty, he's got to be a top 3 pick. He's got to be a top 3 pick. I got him here at number 2, which makes number 1 Breece Hall. Breece Hall out of Iowa State. There's a lot to like about Breece Hall. He was productive right out of the gate as a freshman, and he just got better and better over time. His skills as both a receiver and pass protector will warrant 3-down usage at the next level. He's going to be a 3-down back. And his coaches will love him. He follows his blocks. He never fumbles. That's going to help him get on the field in a big way right out the gate. He proved at the NFL Combine that he is an incredible athlete with size-adjusted traits. Excellent, elite size-adjusted traits. And while this 2022 class may not be quite as strong as we've seen in some of these recent years, Hall ranks right up there with some of the top backs from the 2020 and 2021 classes. He has yearly top 12 running back written all over him. This is a yearly RB1 in fantasy football for the next 3 to 5 years. He's in Dynasty, he's a cornerstone piece to build around on your Dynasty team. He's locked in as the 101 in 2022 Dynasty Rookie Drafts, no matter the format. But that's it. That's my top 50. We made it. We made it through about an hour and a half. We did it. That's the top 50. You can find so much more of my rookie analysis. I go a lot deeper on these players. A lot of these players, almost all of them, at yardsperfantasy.com. Find it in the ultimate 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide presented by Yards Per Fantasy. Get it right on the app. Get it right on our app. Go to the Google Play Store, go to the Apple Store, search Yards Per Fantasy, download our app. Go right there, the free Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, and it lives up to its name, the ultimate 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. Or just go to yardsperfantasy.com and find it there. We also have an NFL draft prop bets competition that is free to enter with some awesome prizes. You just go through and answer some questions how you think things are going to shake out in the NFL draft. We got like over under 3.5 quarterbacks in the first round, over under 5.5 wide receivers in the first round. Where is Wan'Dale Robinson going to be drafted? Like, we got a lot of questions on there. You can win some prizes. We did this with free agency. It was a big hit. It was a lot of fun. So we're doing it again with the NFL draft. Free to enter. A lot of fun. Just go to yardsperfantasy.com. You'll find it right there at the top of the homepage. It's a big purple button that says NFL Draft Prop Bets Contest Challenge, whatever we call it. Click on there. And like I said, you'll also find that draft guide. It is free. We got so much in there. You're going to be impressed. Not just rookie write-ups. We got these beautiful player pages with their college stats, their workout metrics, a big write-up on them, highlight videos, and it's just so much more. So much more. I encourage you to check it out. yardsperfantasy.com. That's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoy the NFL draft. I'm excited. See ya.